in this region. Our presence is mainly in agro sector. We are into sugar and tea, and in the packaging we are into glass, corrugated cartons. We are also into hospitality. We have an outstanding track record over the years, and we have achieved a market leader position in most of the sector in which we operate. In Tanzania, we operate a very successful glass manufacturing industry since the early 60s here in Tanzania. It's called Kio Limited. Some of you would have heard about it. Kio in the Swahili language means glass. We are a classic case of a manufacturing entity that uses local resources and converts them to make a value-added product that earns vital foreign exchange for the country after meeting 100% of the local demand. And we have established a name as one of the a preferred supplier for the large beverage brands operating in the continent. Now, Tanzania, I'm telling you with 60 years of experience behind us. Why Tanzania? Stable government, I think most of it Mr. Terry has already mentioned, but I'm just reiterating. Smooth transitions, a dream demography for any country to have with an average population age of under 20. Access to the EAC market, over 300 million people. Very secure environment, abundant natural resources, reliable local energy source, approachable governments, TIC in the forefront, and this kind of a forum to bring together is one big step in this direction. I'm happy to give you any more advice. Privately, I'm around, and of course it comes free of cost, but priceless for sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for that sharing of experience and keeping the time in check. We request our next speaker to briefly share his experiences and remarks. Mr. Imran Karmali, CEO of GF Vehicle Assemblies. Mr. Imran. I suppose he's not. Okay. We will now move on to the more important part, the prospects who are amongst us today from the Indian delegation. I'll first request Shri Rajiv Gandhi, founder Hester Bioscience Limited, to share his outlook. Thank you.
Respectable Minister of External Affairs, Government of India, His Excellency Shri Jaishar Ji, Minister of Trade and Industrial Development, Zanzibar, His Excellency Mr. Omar Shaban, the Indian High Commissioner, His Excellency Shri Binay Pradhan Ji, the Tanzanian High Commissioner to India, Her Excellency Madam Anisa Bega, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a distinguished honor to stand before you today. Hester Biosciences, a vaccine manufacturer based in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, India, has established a wholly owned subsidiary, Hester Biosciences Africa, with the dedicated aim to combat African-specific animal diseases. An investment of $20 million anchors our commitment to manufacture vaccines against diseases affecting poultry, cattle, sheep, goat, swine, and camels. This makes us the most extensive animal vaccine unit on the African continent. Our journey in Tanzania from conceptualization to trial production stages has been remarkably smooth and unencumbered, except for the global challenge of the COVID pandemic, a situation beyond anyone's control. I personally thank TIC, our first contact when we came to Tanzania. We express our gratitude towards the National Development Corporation and the Export Processing Zone Authority of Tanzania, whose tireless efforts enabled us to secure the necessary land, permits, and tax exemptions required for an export-oriented venture such as ours. We take immense pride in the fact that every piece of our plant and machinery imported into Tanzania comes from India. We received significant support from Tanzanian Ministry of Industry, Ministry of Livestock, and the Tanzanian Medical Device Authority, who assisted us in obtaining the necessary licenses to commence production. Initially, we were apprehensive about the availability of local talent for our production and quality control requirements. However, I must admit we were pleasantly surprised. Today we have a workforce predominantly made up of talented Tanzanians, apart from only 4 expatriates. Their capabilities were so impressive that we felt compelled to provide them with training in India. Now they are actively involved in various crucial operations, including production, quality control, and engineering utilities. With such positivity and determination surrounding us, we are already chartering plans for further investment in Tanzania, particularly in the realm of pharmaceutical formulations for both human and veterinary needs. In conclusion, it is fair to say that our journey in Tanzania has been both inspiring and gratifying thus far. We are confident that this is only the beginning of a long, productive journey ahead. I am part of the IT mission as defined by Shri Jaishar ji yesterday in his speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rajiv, for your insights from the journey. Next up, we have Director, Reliance Industries Limited, Mr. Sridhar Rudra Raju. We have further in the lineup keeping in with the requirements of the time, we'll move on to our main agenda of the today, what we have been looking forward to. As said, we have the people with the required mandate, authority, and the vision to make these potentials into realities. I'll first request the address of His Excellency Mr. Omar Said Shaban, Minister of Trade and Industrial Development, Zanzibar, at the Zanzibar Revolutionary Government. So we look forward to hearing from you.
Your Excellency Dr. Jaishar, External Affairs Ministers of India, Your Excellency High Commissioner of Tanzania to India, Madam Your Excellency Anisa Mbega, Your Excellency High Commissioner of India to Tanzania, Your Excellency Binaya Pradhan, fellows government officials from private sector as well, and institutions, ladies and gentlemen, namaste. Habari za mchana. I was asking His Excellency here if it is appropriate, considering the time, to use the word namaste. I was not sure. But he assured me that namaste can be used all time around. So, and I hope I get it right. But also, just want to bring it to your attention, fellow delegates invited here, that today it's Sabasaba. And on Sabasaba Day, we celebrate also Swahili Day, nationally and internationally. I would have wished to deliver my speech in Swahili, but to facilitate the transactions and trade missions present here, I think it will be fair enough to use English, at least for today. And I apologize to Tanzanians who are expecting today Swahili to be spoken all over the country because we celebrate Swahili Day. But I think for the context of this meeting, allow me to use English in delivering my keynote address. Ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Almighty God who gave us his blessings and permissions to gather here today for this business forum between Tanzania and India. This forum provides a unique opportunity for both countries to discuss the current business and investment climate and the challenges that come with it. I know testimonies has been given here by those who have been investing in Tanzania for almost 60 years, those who are expecting to invest. And this is, I think, the business communities all wants to hear. But I think my part also will just to give a political assurance and the government commitment to the business community. And I will fairly do it. Ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to extend my profound appreciations and gratitude to Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, the President of United Republic of Tanzania, and Dr. Hussein Ali Mwinyi, the President of Zanzibar and the Chairman of Revolutionary Council, for their consistent efforts towards improving the business and investment environment in the country. That has resulted in Tanzania to be an attractive place for investment and expansions of trade relationship in bilateral, regional, and international cooperation. Distinguished guests, I'm delighted to have also the opportunity to participate in this business forum between Tanzania and India. Tanzania and India are traditionally trading partners because they have the same historical background under British rule. The two countries signed in 1975 a permanent joint commissions of cooperation to enhance closer cooperation. Further, Tanzania and India concluded and signed a trade agreement on 14th January 2000 in Dar es Salaam. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as you are aware, Tanzania has a wealth of natural resources and a business-friendly environment that offer attractive investment opportunities. Our data shows that total trade volume between Tanzania and India has increased from US dollar 2,836 million in 2013 to US dollar 3,138.9 million in 2022. This makes the balance of trade between the two countries remain in favor of India. However, total export from Tanzania to India increases from US dollar 748 million in 2013 to US dollar 1,178.6 million in 2022, with the fluctuations in some of the years. Ladies and gentlemen, the main products exported from Tanzania include cashew nuts, coconuts, Brazilian nuts, groundnuts, dried and undried leguminous vegetables, precious stones and semi-precious stones, cotton lint, pyrethrum extract, water extract, cloves, tea, raw hides and skins, sisal, wood and wood products. Tanzanian major import from India include woven fabrics of cotton, cold rolled irons and non-alloy steels, rice, medicines and pharmaceutical products, parts and accessories of vehicles, transports, equipments and plastic products, and the textbooks. Ladies and gentlemen, to make sure both sides benefited from trade, Tanzania and India have established a joint trade committee in 2000 in order to facilitate the effective implementation of the trade agreement and foster commercial exchange. The Joint Trade Committee has met 3 times and has identified various areas of cooperations in agro-processing, leather processing, gemstones cutting and polishing, pharmaceutical, information technology, iron and steel, gas and power productions. In addition to that, in the area of information technology, India has agreed to train Tanzania in the field of information technology and established an information center at SIDO headquarters, which is now in its operational. Ladies and gentlemen, Tanzania and India maintain excellent relationship that have existed over the years. Implementations of various programs and projects will invigorate trade and economic to translate the warm relationship that exists between Tanzania and India. In this regard, India public and private enterprises are invited to participate and team up with their Tanzanian counterparts to explore cooperations in many trade and investment opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, taking cognizance of our geographical location, Tanzania is currently implementing an economic development zones, EDZ, programs which encompass economic processing zones, EPZ, and special economic zones to invigorate manufacturing and value-added goods for regional markets and exports to other countries. And I think Director of TIC here have explained the incentives and benefits that are coming up with this establishment. The government has identified areas designated for EPZ and SEZ and invites investors to team up with Tanzania's counterparts. The potential areas of investment in which Indian investors are welcomed to invest under EDZ include development of infrastructure and manufacturing operations, establishment of standalone EPZ sites, constructions of single EPZ factories at any geographical locations in Tanzania, undertaking EPZ's manufacturing operations in existing industrial parks, including Begani in Bagamoyo, Economic Development Zone, Kigoma, Special Economic Zone, and the Benjamin William Mkapa Special Economic Zone. Furthermore, the government of Zanzibar has developed 2 industrial parks in Zanzibar, one located in Chamanangwe, Pemba, and other is located in Dunga, Unguja Island. Ladies and gentlemen, I recognize and appreciate the 33 Indian companies from Haryana that are participating in the 47th Dar es Salaam International Trade Fair that commenced on 28th June to 13th of July 2023 in Dar es Salaam. These companies deal with manufacturing medicines, pharmaceutical, agriculture, agro-processing and food processing jewelries, agro-inputs, software, textiles, apparels, ceramic, garments, and infrastructure. Furthermore, I sincerely appreciate the decision of Government of India to agree with the Revolutionary Government of Zanzibar to establish a physical presence of the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology, IIT campus outside India that will be set up in Zanzibar. This campus is reflective of the long-standing friendship between India and Tanzania, since it will serve the entire East African countries. Your presence here indicates the strong and fruitful partnership that Tanzanians enjoys for building healthy economic development for both countries. Ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, I therefore expect more companies from India to invest and do business with Tanzania companies with the existing cordial relationship between our countries, and by working together, we can increase the size of investment and the volumes of trade between Tanzania and India. Please, come one, come all. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for further elaborating the potentials that we had chalked out initially during the first half of the day. So you mentioned the Swahili Day today, and though you used very few words of Swahili today, but they are very precious in the context of this gathering today. And Indian friends will appreciate this, and I think I'll translate it for others. Saba in Hindi means Sat, and the word linguistically also means Saath, together. So our friends will appreciate India, Tanzania, aaj saath saath hai. So we are together in that spirit of togetherness. We have all been waiting to hear from our honorable guest today, His Excellency Dr. Jaishar. in terms of, again, mentioning Swahili again, he has been here for less than or 48 hours. But even yesterday, we heard him pronounce names of Kibaha, Mwanza with perfect Swahili dictum. And I request him once again to share his insight on the matter today. Thank you.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Minister Omar Shaban, Minister of Trade and Industrial Development of Zanzibar, Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, Mr. Damu Rami, High Commissioners, both of them, business delegates from India and Tanzania, from IIA and TIC. Namaskar, Hawari, a very good afternoon, and as we were reminded, happy Sabha Sabha Day. I'm very pleased today that I have an opportunity to participate in a business event during my visit to Tanzania. And my sincere thanks to the Indian Industries Association, the Tanzania Investment Center, and other organizers who have come together to put this event in place. My special thanks to delegates from India who could make it to Dar es Salaam, and your visit here will allow you to explore opportunities to further our business and trade relations. Now, all of you know that Tanzania and India, we enjoy traditionally close and friendly relations. We have a very sound political understanding between us. We've seen regular high-level visits, including that of Prime Minister Modi a few years ago. And we have, of course, very broad, very deep people-to-people contacts. Regarding economic ties, because that is the reason we are gathered here today, these have always been a very strong pillar of cooperation. Despite the global disruption and the COVID challenges, our bilateral trade has actually seen very strong growth. Though there is, I must say, Minister, a bit of a gap between your figures and our figures. So the Indian figures actually put our bilateral trade last year at $6.4 billion, that is in 2022-23. Now, bear in mind, this is not only a very substantial bilateral trade, but it's also actually a bilateral trade which is getting increasingly balanced. Many new products are being added to the trade basket. And what is most important is that India, whether you follow our figures or Tanzanian figures, India remains the biggest destination for Tanzanian exports. So that is something which should know. And the reason for that is that there is this duty-free tariff scheme extended by India to 33 countries of Africa since 2008, including, I would say, especially to Tanzania. And this has been instrumental in getting Tanzanian exports to India up very significantly. Currently, it opens up 98% of tariff lines from Tanzania to India on a duty-free basis. So as I mentioned, we have different figures for what is our actual trade, but whether we are your biggest trade partner or not, but I can say we are your best trade partner. Suddenly, by our figures, we are also the biggest. I hope in your figures too that would happen soon. Now, when it comes to the Indian business interest in Tanzania, obviously the way to promote that is through frequent exchanges of delegations, of individual business, of companies. I was very happy to learn that in 2022, 8 big exhibitions in different sectors took place here. There were more than 700 Indian businessmen who came. And these have certainly helped to promote bilateral trade and investment. And today, the presence of a 40-member delegation, I think, is a source of great satisfaction. And I really thank the organizers at both ends who have made that possible. As regards investment, we have seen investments in hospitals, in pharma, in animal vaccine, as we heard, education, in mining, in agro-processing. And I do want to say we are committed to taking it forward, and perhaps a time will come when we will see an Indian industrial park in Tanzania. There is also an issue which has been brought up from time to time, which is the possibility of trade settlements in our own currencies. And I want to share with you that the Indian Central Bank has cleared such a possibility. So the three Indian banks which are here have that ability to do trade settlements in each other's currency. I'm told a few transactions have already taken place in Indian rupees and Tanzanian shillings, and certainly this will provide an additional mechanism to promote trade between our two countries. Now, a few words about India. I think it stands to reason. We are today the fifth largest economy in the world. Our expectation of GDP growth remains strong. We would be hopefully closing in on 7% this year. But we are very confident of multiple decades of growth ahead. And we may be one of the fastest growing large economies of the world, but we also recognize that Tanzania has actually shown a spectacular economic performance in Africa. I congratulate you, Minister, colleagues, on that achievement. And I think this strong growth at both ends really opens up many more possibilities between us. Where India is concerned, other than trade and investment, we have a strong development partnership. I will speak about it right at the end as well. And these are guided by the 10 principles which Prime Minister Modi spelled out in 2018. And the central message of what he said at that time is that our friendship, our solidarity must be expressed through business and development partnerships, but they must respond to the priorities of the partner countries. And that is really what we have been trying to do, and I think many of our projects really reflect that. In terms of development partnership, the biggest commitment we have is in the water sector. We have close to $1 billion of line of credit, and this water projects will cover 28 towns, eventually 8. Diaspora is always a bridge. You have an understanding of both ends of the relationship. And as I said, when you see two economies grow so strongly, it's important that there are a set of people who are tracking changes at both ends, who are able to explain these changes to everybody, and who are able to guide people from business who are coming here to see what the possibilities are. And definitely, I would say those businesses who have been here a long time, we heard one of them earlier in the afternoon, I think they have a particular responsibility in that regard. I obviously, would hope very much that today's event would contribute to stronger business bonding between us. But before I conclude, I want to really, we have been talking about business cooperation, investment, trade, but I want to give you a larger context. So don't just think India and Tanzania, but let us look at an African context, even a global context. If I take all of Africa today, India's trade is $98 billion with Africa. India's investments are $75 billion. And we are expecting both this trade with Africa and investments in Africa to grow. And I certainly agree with what you said, which is now that there is a pan-African, larger continental free trade arrangement in the making as it unfolds. I think it makes it easier to both trade with Africa and trade and invest in Africa. Now, we may have a unified market here, or you may be moving towards a unified market, but unified markets still require points of entry. Unified markets require regional hubs. Within the unified market, there would be a differentiated level of, I would say, governance and governance quality and investment friendliness. And that is where I would say Tanzania is very important, because from an Indian perspective, when we look at Africa, for us, Africa, first of all, means East Africa. Because this is the Africa with which we have a historical familiarity. With where, again, the diaspora is strong. So even as Africa as a continent really lowers its internal barriers, for us the case to be in Tanzania and to work with Tanzania becomes that much stronger. The second, we speak about transactions and assets, but we should not forget the importance of human resources and capacities. And the significance of what we are doing by establishing an Indian Institute of Technology campus in Zanzibar is exactly that. That we are today, this is, Minister, colleagues, you should see this as actually also an act of investment. That we are investing today in the capacities of Tanzania, but we expect this not just to be a Tanzanian institution. We expect it actually to be a magnet for all of Africa and really emerge as a pan-African institution of education and technological excellence. And I'm very glad that it's located in Zanzibar, because that is a natural confluence. That's a meeting point really between India and Africa. I make one other important point, which is the changes in India. My Indian friends would know, but for the benefits of our Tanzanian colleagues, I want to stress that there is something called Make in India. Make in India, Make for the World is a program which Prime Minister Modi has led for some years now, by which manufacturing in India is growing very rapidly. We are developing really global level capabilities in a very cost-effective manner, in a very technologically relevant manner. And you can see this today, not just, I would say, in our traditional exports, but in sectors like railways, in defense, in drones, in pharma. So you are actually going to be dealing with an India which has much more to give to the world, much more to share with the world, much more to trade with the world. And the world needs it, because the lesson really from the COVID is we cannot be reliant on any single geography. That if the world relies on one part of the world and something happens, we are all at risk. I think we saw that over the last 3 years. So today, how to spread the risk, how to have different manufacturing hubs all across the world, including in Africa, is something which is actually a global de-risking of the world economy. And this is certainly something that India and Tanzania should be working towards. Once again, let me say it's really a great pleasure today to join you all during my visit. And certainly as I head into our joint commission meeting tomorrow, the sentiments and the enthusiasm that this meeting has generated is something which I will try to communicate into that event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for elaborating the various dimensions of economical engagement, and highlighting the holistic approach of our partnership between the two nations. The insights, the priceless insights that you shared will further mark out the roadmap of shared prosperity on which we are to walk together. So you ended with the sentiment being acknowledged of the diaspora and all the stakeholders. as a small token of appreciation and representation of that sentiment, we have a small felicitation that we'll request you to allow us. We'll request Ms. Sharma and Mr. Gadolia to felicitate the honorable dignitaries. Yes. We thank His Excellency, Minister of Trade and Industrial Development, Honorable Omar Said Salaam, Honorable Minister. We thank you for your valuable time. Thank you, sir. We thank you all for being a very enthusiastic participant in this exercise, which shall continue, and the delegation shall exchange ideas and energies and further deliberate on the insights which were shared by honorable dignitaries. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for this session, and we continue with the networking session further. Thank you. सबके मतलब सबको मैडम और उनसे मना कर रहे हैं। अरे जब वहाँ पे आप लोग वहाँ पे उसको निकालने उधर से फिर मना कर रहे हैं कि क्या कर रहे हो तुम लोग।
सब गड़बड़ हो गया।